What up, y'all? What up, y'all? We're finally back. We're actually back this time, man. Took last week off, a little under the weather, but feeling a lot better. And let's get this thing cracking, man. And last 2 weeks has been kind of wild, but gonna dive into a little bit of week 7 this past weekend, man. A lot of crazy games, but a lot of big news too. Kind of glad to be back. It was weird last week not doing a pod, no editing all week. So like, kind of was really anticipating this week, and the weekend gave us a lot to talk about too. Lot of craziness as usual, but big news. We got some big news in the sport. Obviously, like the biggest news of the weekend, everyone's really talking about, man. Penn State, obviously embarrassing loss over the weekend. But bigger news, Penn State fired James Franklin, man. I didn't think it was going to happen. You know, there was a lot of talk of, if things kept going the way they went, they might get rid of him. The buyout, I think, is crazy big. I think it's like $43 million.
What does that mean, buyout?
So they got to pay him $43 million.
Oh, they have to pay him because they fired him.
Yeah. So I thought that just the buyout alone would save him. And, I thought they would at least, give him the end of the season. But was it Sunday? Let him go, man. That's just that's crazy. Like that's big news. I mean, that's really the biggest, news when it comes to firing a coach that I've seen in a long time.
That's performed well for the organization.
Yeah.
I think that was very media driven into firing him. I don't think it had a lot to do with the organization. I think it's about money and media, and
it happened way quicker than I thought. Even if he would have been fired, I thought that it at least after the year or closer to the end of the season. I mean, they started 3-3, but that's
Are they trying to, since Drew Aller's out now, do you think that was a big reason why they fired him too? They're trying to reset their whole plan of action? And
I guess. I don't really know. I mean, this is early to fire a coach and to fire one this successful. So, I mean,
right after losing your starting quarterback too, I don't know. Who else is going to relate to the team? Are they just doing OC to the head coach now?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
are they looking for a new head coach?
I can't remember. I know they're promoting someone for the rest of the year, but just
probably OC or DC or somebody.
Big news. In the coaching world. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit more a little bit later. But other news, man. We saw some big games. We saw Indiana top 10 clash in Autzen on the road, getting a tough win against Oregon. Oregon did not look great at all. Really, Indiana kind of controlled the game for the most part. Texas, goes in, struggling, a week ago, lost to Florida. And goes in and gets a tough win against their biggest rival in Oklahoma.
I think Oklahoma was a broken team that they played, though. I don't think they were the Oklahoma that we've seen all year.
Yeah. Obviously, their quarterback, first game back after breaking his thumb and surgery. And I'm sure he had rust and
maybe a bit too soon.
Yeah, that's I think I could tell what they wanted. They wanted to try to put their best foot forward, but I do think they should have just went out there with a backup and just let him roll with it and just let Mateer get back. But Texas got a big win, and they got the golden hat in house, man. Bama, really good game on the road at Mizzou. Mizzou was undefeated, and they're undefeated no longer, man. Bama, big win, gritty win, conference win, and they're atop of the SEC right now.
Offense looks really good.
Crazy. I think Bama's got the best pass game in the country right now. Just pure pass game. It's like they're playing very, very good football right now. They're a scary team. Ohio State, gritty win at Illinois. Really, they looked good. Really going back and really looking at the game and kind of looking at how the game went. Looking at the stats, looking at some of the analytics, and just seeing really how the game went after watching it. I feel like the game was a little closer than the score, showed. Illinois kind of not gave them the game, but they had a lot of mistakes in the game, I think, and they were down big early and just were never able to come back. But Ohio State got a big win.
Yeah, they played good second half. They didn't come out like they needed to, and Ohio just stayed right where they needed and coasted.
Yeah. we're halfway through. We're about 6 games in, man. Halfway mark. Seeing how the teams have shaked out and really what they become, you kind of can tell who's who now, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think we're 3 weeks away from the first college football playoff ranking. So I've been waiting on that. I've been waiting to see this because I'm not a big AP poll guy. I'd rather have people that know football, doing rankings. So I'm excited, for 3 weeks from now, seeing some legitimate rankings come in. But we're halfway through, man. So let's dive into it, man. So really the big news coming out of the weekend, man. A lot of great games, a lot of great results. But really, James Franklin, getting fired by Penn State. He spent 11 years there. He was there for 11 plus years. And started off the year 3-3 and got let go. It's crazy that I think around 2 weeks ago, Penn State was ranked number 2 in the country. 2 weeks ago. And now they're unranked, 3-3 amongst, I think the bottom of the Big Ten, and fired the coach. That's a drastic swing. That's a drastic swing. Really, he was a pretty successful coach. I mean, he was one of the most winning coaches in the country since he's been at Penn State. 104-45 overall winning. He really, when it comes to the narrative around James Franklin really is going to be he wins the games that he should win and he loses the games that he should lose. But when you're playing Ohio State and Michigan, and when at the time when Michigan State was good and years when Iowa was good, he came up short in those games. And those are the games you got to win. Those are the games you get paid, $5-10 million a year to win. And he just did not win those games. And that's really, I think, why he got fired. You can't start 3-3 and really started off the year bad, really. And you have this resume of not beating the best of the best and really, getting over the hump. And that's really, I think that's really where he got fired from, man.
I mean, being in the Big Ten and only having 5 wins out of the Big Ten ranked teams in 11 years is insane.
I mean, yeah, it just
5 ranked wins out of your biggest rivals in your conference, and you can't get the job done in 11 years.
In 11 years, yeah, it's wild, man. He obviously won the conference championship in 2016, but that's a while ago. Had a chance last year, was played in the title game, but lost to Oregon. 6-6 bowl record.
That's not good either. Nothing about these are good.
Really, and
besides his wins, he's got a lot of wins for the organization. That's about it.
He's won a lot of games, but the most important games, he does not have great winning percentages. And he's had some really good teams, really good teams.
You won't see him in the SEC coaching. You can't beat ranked opponents and conference opponents. You can't do it. You can't be in the SEC and expect to do anything. Nobody's gonna hire him.
I do think
in the SEC at least.
And at least you kind of can look at it with hindsight. I do think he's had teams that were really, really good in the past. And those teams fell short against Michigan some years and fell short of Ohio State most years. But I feel like he's had great teams that could have done a lot if they had this 12-team playoff back then. Because there's been multiple years. I think the year that they won the Big Ten in 2016, they were left out of the 14 playoff. They were like 5th or 6th in the country and got left out. So it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like he would have had a lot more success in the playoff, because he had great teams, man. He had teams with Saquon Barkley, Trace McSorley, who was a really good quarterback. There's a lot of players that are in the NFL right now that Penn State put in the NFL. So he's had really good teams. He just hasn't had the best team.
I mean, his defense was almost a top elite defense for years and years.
Yeah, 100%.
He had Parsons. He had so many different. Who else did he have? Number 11 before Parsons.
There was a guy after Parsons. You think he just got drafted 2 years ago or a year ago?
Oh, that was just got drafted by the Giants.
Yup.
What the fuck?
Like, it's crazy, man. It's just like he's had so many good players, so many good teams, elite level defense the last like 3 years. Just have not been able to get over the hump, and that's really where like I think he really got fired from. They want to go and beat these teams and win these games, you know, like the Ohio States are doing. But I mean, he's come up short and starting 3-3 and really not looking good at all. I think really is what did it. And then coming into the year, like a lot of people had them as the number one team in the country, like favorites to win the championship. I think they were Texas was, I think, the actual favorite, and Penn State was like number 2 to win the actual national championship. And then they start off 3-3. It just bad look, just not great. And my question is, if you fire a guy like James Franklin, who's had so much success, who do you expect to get to replace him and to have the same level of success or more success? There's not many guys out there at all. I mean, I'm reaching out on a limb. When I think about it, I'm like, I'm going to keep a guy that I feel like has put us at the level that you're at.
Go get Gruden.
See, that's what I was wondering. I think if the only reason that you pay $43 million and fire him is if you feel like there's a guy out there that you're gonna get that's among the best of the best that you can get in-house. And I think they think that they either can get Urban Meyer, maybe a John Gruden, maybe a Nick Saban. Like,
Nick Saban would not come out of retirement to go to the Big Ten.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, he's got Big Ten ties. I mean, he coached at Michigan State for years. But I don't think Saban's coming out of retirement to go anywhere. I think he's good.
Miss Terry gonna beat his ass.
Like, I don't think I don't think Urban Meyer does, because Urban Meyer, I think there's only 1 or 2 jobs Urban Meyer would come out of retirement for, and that's if Ohio State came open again, if Florida comes open and they push hard for him, or if Notre Dame, because he's a Notre Dame guy. Like he grew up as a Notre Dame guy. So other than that, like, who's really out there? I mean, there's a lot of names out there. You know, Matt Rule from Nebraska, Curt Cignetti from Indiana. I don't think those are the guys, really. I would rather have James Franklin than those guys, you know.
I mean, nowadays you can't expect head coaches to leave their organization.
Yeah, I mean, they're more of a figurehead. Like in college, you're more of a figurehead. And there's only a handful of guys that kind of run everything. Saban's going to be that guy. You know, a guy like Kirby at this point is kind of that guy.
Is there any OC that's out there that they can pick up? I mean, I don't think they're going to get a head coach from anywhere. They might pick up an OC from a higher ranking team, but
maybe. I mean, honestly, like mainly the names that I hear right now. I mean, it's so early. But mainly the names I hear are going to be Matt Rule from Nebraska, he's a program builder, in my opinion. Good coach, but I think he's a program builder. I don't think he's necessarily a sustainer. And Curt Cignetti from Indiana, in which, in my opinion, you know, maybe Curt Cignetti thinks that just Penn State's just a better job and there's a higher ceiling, but he's got Indiana rolling. I mean, they just went to the playoff last year, and now they're ranked, what, 3?
3.
They look better than they did last year. He's got that program rolling. I don't think he leaves there. I don't think he would want to leave that and go somewhere where there's a little bit of turmoil happening. I just don't know who they really have that they think is better than James Franklin. Because, you know, it'd be different if James Franklin just didn't win a lot. But this dude's won every year and been right there amongst, you know, it's always been Ohio State and Penn State, really, until, you know, Michigan kind of came up with Harbaugh. It's always been like Ohio State and Penn State. So, like, I don't know. I don't really know what Penn State really thinks. So I'm very, very interested in seeing how that figures out, because I don't know what is on their mind and what they think they're going to get by firing James Franklin. So that's just wild to me. That's a big time coach to get booted out in week, 7? That's wild. Like,
with no replacement.
No replacement right now. And like,
no starting quarterback.
Yeah, and Drew Aller's out, so like who knows? Like their season might just go downhill from here, and just I don't
We
know.
don't see a lot of kids transferring.
Yeah, I know. I think there's already somebody that's either transferred already into the transfer portal, and there's also a big time recruit that's decommitted from there already.
Mm-hmm.
So like they got to figure it out and kind of get a plan together and what they're going to do, because I don't think firing a head coach like that and then if you come up short in the coaching search and just kind of have to settle for the next best option, it's like I don't think that's the best move for a team or an organization. So that's wild. I couldn't believe it when I seen it on the ticker at the bottom. That was very, very shocking. So we'll see what they do. I don't think Penn State, I think their season's kind of over. They may get bowl eligible. Maybe. Have to see with the backup quarterback if he's any good. So, I mean, that's a tough situation for them. They got to figure it out, man. It's big news, man. Wild in the world of college football. Next, really the big game of the week was Indiana traveling to Oregon, man, all the way across the country in the Pacific Northwest, and Indiana winning Autzen, one of the hardest places to play, and they went out and just beat them straight up. Oregon just looked not good. They did not look good at all. Offensively, they came out, they had a big play early, busted coverage, big play, 7 on the board, and from then on, watching their offense it was a struggle. It was an absolute struggle. Did not run the ball well at all, less than 100 yards rushing, only had 267 total offensive yards. DJ Moore did not play very well, in my opinion. Less than 200 yards passing, threw 2 interceptions in the game. Could not convert on third down. They were 3 of 14 on third down.
3 of 14.
Yeah, terrible. They could not convert. Watching Oregon's offense, it was every yard it seemed like that they got was like the hardest yard in the world to get. It was not good at all. On the other side, Indiana offensively, I thought played okay. Mendoza played pretty efficiently. He did throw a pick, threw 1 touchdown, but it was more of the play to play. I thought his game was pretty good. He wasn't making a lot of mistakes. Kept the ball in front of him. And did what they had to do to get a win. Elijah Surratt, had a big day, catching the football, 8 catches for 121 yards and a tutty. They played the way that I expected Oregon to play at home, and it was not it. Oregon had no vertical passing game. They were not explosive at all. They couldn't sustain drives. They never developed a rhythm on offense. You kind of see with an Oregon team, the pace that they play with, being able to run the football, even if the passing game doesn't get going early, they find a way to move the football. And I just don't think they did. Indiana made it hard on them, and you could tell, and it always felt like Oregon was 1 step behind. And late, Indiana closed, and Kirk Cignetti on the sideline was losing his mind, and it was a very, very wild game. And Indiana is a damn good football team. It was actually very wild to see them go into Autzen and just go and control the game.
And how's the rest of their schedule look?
I would have to look at it. They have a manageable schedule. I mean, they should win basically every other game on their schedule. Now, if they play like this, they're going to be in games. But if they play at least how they've played so far, they should win the rest of their games. Indiana's they have a pretty manageable schedule. I do think they have a harder schedule than Oregon, I think, this year. But they look like a really good football team. So I feel confident in them in the rest of their games. Next week, Oregon or Indiana has Michigan State, who's kind of reeling, and then Oregon has go to Rutgers. They got to go all the way across the country to Rutgers. And that, to me, when you come off of a loss, going to all the way across the country, don't lay an egg. You got to go and take care of business. You got to kind of hit the rebound button and get back on track because, a game like this is a game that you can turn a loss into a downhill slide. So if I was Oregon, make sure they take care of business, man. But yeah, it was wild seeing that. It was really, really wild seeing how that game went. Oregon just never had the juice that they normally do.
Maybe you just didn't expect Indiana to be so dominant. Not dominant, but be a team in contention. Contention.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting seeing a high-ranked team like that lose to, Indiana.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing Indiana take Penn State's spot at the top.
Maybe.
For years to come.
I want to say right now, Indiana's like second in the Big Ten now. Like they're in position to them being like the team in the Big Ten title game right now. So it's like, they're in perfect position. They're right where they want to be. I still think both of these teams are fine. I don't think the loss is a big deal because you have such a large playoff bracket. Either one of these teams, regardless if they make it to the Big Ten title game, win it or just don't get in. I still think these teams are going to be good enough to get in the bracket. But, you just don't want a loss to turn into an underlying issue to where it costs you later. So it's very, very interesting. But Indiana, big win, gritty win. Excited to really see what they do next. Next up, we got Bama going to Mizzou, picking up a gritty win, man. They really went and took care of business. They kind of controlled the whole game. Mizzou came in the game, a little bit of hype, undefeated, ranked, and they caught an L. And it was a lower scoring game, a little bit lower scoring than I expected it to be, honestly. I actually thought there was going to be a little bit of fireworks in this game, but they got a win. Ty Simpson played all right. He had 3 touchdowns, not a big yardage day, big stat day. But did what it took to get a win. On the other side, Bo Prabula for Mizzou did not play well, in my opinion. Bama's defense really came and I thought played really well with, coming into this game. Missouri's offense was putting up a lot of points, moving the ball really, really well on their opponents and did not do that against Bama, in my opinion. They were very choppy throughout the game. Missouri was only 1 of 10 on third down, so they could not really sustain drives and keep the ball moving. Bama sealed the game with a late interception and picked up a big win. Very interested to see Bama now amongst the top of the SEC now and rolling. They are rolling for sure.
Yeah, I guess they're number 1 SEC team.
Right now, it's kind of tough because the dynamic has really shifted with the SEC because coming into the year, Texas was the favorite and we saw, just the way that teams, Georgia, I think was the second favorite. And we've kind of seen the teams that we thought were going to be the best have kind of fallen. And then some teams from that middle of the pack have really emerged as some of the best.
I think it shifts around a whole hell of a lot more.
Oh, for sure. There's so many tough games left for so many of these teams. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Bama's got a tough game next week. I bet you that changes a lot.
Oh, they got this cigar week, man. This is cigar week for Bama. Big rivalry game against Tennessee this week. They are at home. My gut tells me there's going to be points in this game. Tennessee can score. Bama can score. Interested to see Bama's secondary really tested. I think Tennessee's going to really, really threaten Bama, but I am excited. I am excited to see what Bama can do against Tennessee. And Missouri, they go to Auburn just like Georgia did this week. Auburn's obviously, they just showed this week, they're a hard, gritty team. I think potentially Mizzou's what you would call an upset alert. I think, losing to Bama in a tough home loss, now you got to go and play Auburn, who's one of the better defenses in the country. I see Mizzou being on upset alert. I think they win the game, but that's a tough game, to go against a defense like Auburn's right after you just played Bama. And on the other side, Bama, I think they beat Tennessee, but I think it's going to be a shootout in a way.
I don't know. I think it'll be a 3-point swing.
Yeah, very, very, very much could. I wonder what the lines are. I haven't really looked at the lines much. But I figured, Bama probably is going to be favored. If I had to guess the line.
2.5, 3.5.
2.5? I would say somewhere. I'd say Bama's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5.5.
Really?
5.5 at home. I think they get, the 3 points at home, and I think if they played neutral, I'd say they're probably about a 4-point favorite. So yeah, I'd say somewhere in the 5 to 6 point favorite range. That's how I'd look at. But that's a game I'm looking forward to this weekend. Big game. But Bama got a big win this week against Mizzou, so they're gonna keep rolling. Next, we had Texas winning Red River, getting a big win. They really needed the win against Oklahoma, 26 or 23-6. Obviously, John Mateer came back after 17 days after having thumb surgery after he broke his thumb. And really, the defense has really controlled the game for the most part. Texas kind of in the second half really kind of pulled away and really won the game. But there was only 2 touchdowns in the entire game, and Texas scored both of them. So it was definitely a defensive game. Obviously, I think John Mateer in some sort of fashion was hindered a little bit either by the thumb itself or just the time off and then coming and playing a defense like Texas. But I mean, for what it is, Texas defense played really well. OU only had 48 rushing yards and 258 total yards offensively. Also, Texas had 3 turnovers in the game. So really, their defense really was what won the game. But I mean, Oklahoma, their defense played well too, but just not having any, scoring on the offensive side really hurt them and kind of put them in a hole. And Texas finished the game like good teams do. Honestly, Arch Manning didn't really play all that well, in my opinion.
Didn't impress.
Was not impressive at all. I actually think statistically, I think Mateer outplayed him statistically, I think.
With a broken thumb.
With a broken thumb, yeah. I would say he did what it took to win the game that was played, but at the same time, he still did not impress. I don't think of any worse of Oklahoma with the way that they won or the way that they lost this game, and I don't think of any better of Texas for winning the game. I mean, Texas only had 302 total yards. So, I mean, Texas didn't impress that much. Their defense played well, but that's expected. So I feel like this is just kind of a stopgap right now. Obviously, I think, as Mateer gets back and starts getting back on a roll, getting healthy, I think they, are going to kind of get back to what they were, and Texas still needs to get it together. They still haven't got it together all season.
Can't afford no more losses either.
Oh, definitely. I think they just got back in the top 25, I think.
Top 20?
Yeah. So
20, 25, somewhere in there.
They gotta keep winning, and there's a lot of tough games left ahead, but they gotta keep winning.
They wanted the SEC, they got it.
They definitely got it. Defended well last year, but not very well this year. So we'll see. Oklahoma this week goes to South Carolina. Obviously we'll see, as Mateer's back, kind of continue to kind of get in a rhythm. They need to get in a rhythm in a hurry because Oklahoma's schedule is brutal. I think South Carolina is basically the easiest team from here on out. They got to play South Carolina, and then they start, with the next part of the gauntlet of their season. So hopefully they can kind of get things rolling and Mateer can kind of get back in a rhythm and get a little healthier, so they can start facing these really good teams. And Texas plays at Kentucky. I figure that they should win this football game, and Texas kind of just needs to find themselves. They have continued to kind of struggle and not impress. So interesting game. Just, I expected a low scoring game, and that's exactly what happened. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on from here. And I think Oklahoma might be on a little bit of upset alert. So I'm going to keep an eye on the score of that game, but we'll see. We'll see, man. Next, we had Ohio State, number 1 team in the country, going to Illinois and getting up a win on the road. This game, kind of got started really in Ohio State's favor. Illinois did not play well in the first half at all. They had 3 turnovers in the game. They were not good on third down on defense. And they were given Ohio State short fields to work with, and they were down 20-3 at the half. And obviously, you don't want to be down 20-3 on anybody, but especially the number 1 team in the country, as good as Ohio State is. I feel like the game was a little closer than the score showed and the way that the game went. As much as they gave Ohio State and as bad as they were playing, to be down 20-3, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Offensively, actually, Illinois outgained Ohio State 295 to 272 in total offensive yards. So the defense has actually played well from a total standpoint. Obviously, Ohio State scored, I think it was 34 points, I think. But I think the game was a little bit closer than it seems. The second half, Illinois played pretty well, but I just don't think that the hole that they put themselves in really allowed them to make it a game. Watching this game, I was still not impressed with Ohio State's offense. I think Illinois defensively was situationally bad, but I think offensively or defensively played good in a lot of areas. Obviously, I don't think anyone really picked Ohio State to lose this game, but I think Illinois, kind of gets the bad end of the draw. Obviously, they lose the game, don't look great in the game overall. I do still think Illinois is a good football team. Hopefully this week they have a bye and they can kind of get things together and start, playing better and picking up some wins. But this game really is something more. I look at Ohio State and I'm just not impressed.
A lot of these top teams are not four-quarter teams. They're either doing okay in the first half and falling off second half or vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't see a team with like a full 4 quarters in them of just straight domination, straight football.
That very much, very, very much. And from these teams that have, all these great players, and these are great football teams, I feel like that I'm seeing a lot of where they just don't have the juice when you feel like they should. Mm-hmm. And I feel like because a lot of these teams haven't played good teams yet, like Ohio State really, they've not played like really good teams yet. They played Texas, but we kind of see what Texas turned into.
And that was the first game of the season.
Yeah. Since then, like offensively, they've not really impressed me. I feel like they've struggled or just kind of looked mediocre, at times. And then, defensively, they look like the best defense in the country by far. But I think I'm waiting to see them play a really, really good football team and really see where their offense has to step up and go win a football game. If Ohio State keeps playing the way they're playing offensively, in my opinion, as good as Michigan is, last game of the year, we don't know what these teams are going to be at the end of the day. I think Michigan their defense is good enough to keep this game close. Don't be surprised if the Michigan game is another tight ball game, even though that Michigan's obviously struggling on offense, has a rookie freshman quarterback, brand new quarterback,
they
young.
Lost too, didn't they? Bad.
Yeah. Michigan lost to SC. But I could still see this game between them and Ohio State being close if Ohio State's offense continues to play the way it's playing. I don't see Ohio State's offense right now hitting the gas and just going and dominating and putting 60 on people that you can tell that they're better than. I feel like they're underperforming, in my opinion. I'm waiting to see Ohio State look like the Ohio State that we all know. So this was an interesting game. I do think the game was a little bit closer than it seems. Obviously, this week Ohio State goes to Wisconsin, who is not a very good football team. I think they go and win big, in my opinion, and continue on through the season. But I'm very interested to see where they go from here. Next, we'll kind of look at the best of the rest around the country, man. We had some other good games go on. We saw a kind of a controversial game. We had Georgia defeated Auburn 20-10.
A lot of controversy.
Terrible officiating through this game. I feel like that's kind of its own thing, really. Just looking at the game itself. Obviously, coming into the game, at least for me, like I thought this was a absolutely terrible offensive matchup. Two offenses that I did not think were going to do very well in this game, and the game showed it. 20-10. Not a whole lot of offensive production in this game. Two good defenses, obviously. But I mean, Gunner threw for a little over 200 yards and no touchdowns, and Arnold didn't do, hardly anything either. Arnold threw for $137 with no scores, and just Georgia didn't run the ball well. Auburn had tons of penalties in this game, over 100 yards worth of penalties. This game was just not good. This was a terrible football game, in my opinion, just from sitting down watching football. And then here come the referees, and they make the game even worse. Right before the second half, obviously the big controversy is, Auburn's going in to score, and Arnold goes to reach the football, and he gets it punched out at the goal line, and everyone's wondering, is it a score or not? They reviewed this play for 20 minutes.
What do you think? What was your final out?
Oh, 100%. I think it was out because I think
it was a touchdown.
I think if you look at the last, because they zoomed in and went frame by frame, and you can see the last frame that he has the ball before the ball starts to move when he gets it punched. If you look at the last frame that he has control, if you go and you draw a line from the front of the white line at the bottom of the screen or at the bottom of the pile where the last part of the white line is, if you draw a line straight up, the ball does not touch.
Yeah,
I thought like once
that's one of them ruling whatever the refs call, you got to stick with if it's close like that.
It's crazy, and just reviewing it for 20 minutes. I think, dude, we're in 2025, and we've got like the camera work that we have and the technology we have. I feel like there's got to be a better way to be able to tell if there's a touchdown or not. And I think it's very, very simple. If you literally if they zoom in and they draw a line straight up from where the front of the white part is, where the line goes under the pile, draw a line straight up from there, the ball doesn't touch the plane. So it's not a touchdown. But they took 20 minutes to show this. I think they got the call right.
It was a clear recovery and a return.
Yeah.
So they're not rewarding them a touchdown, but saying it was a fumble.
Yeah. They called it dead. I think they called it. I think they called it dead, right?
You can call a fumble dead. He picked it up and ran.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at least let it play. Just because if it's a score,
how do you call it dead but not call it touchdown either? Like, what about you see a fumble on the play, but you call it dead and it's not a touchdown? But
it's crazy.
It's a fumble at the goal line. Shit's just. Refereeing needs to get better. Officiating needs to get better.
It's wild. Just major controversy, and just watch it, and I'm like, it took me like 2 minutes to really look at it and really determine. I'm like, okay, it looks like it was out. They took 20 minutes, and the refs are talking to the coaches, and the coaches are pissed, and it's just crazy. And this is 2 minutes right before halftime. It took like 40 minutes from the time this happened to the end of the first half. It took like 40 minutes. It was crazy. And then, late, after all this happens, it was still a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter. And I really think that Auburn had a chance to keep themselves in contention to win this game. And the last touchdown of the game, Georgia had the football and had a touchdown drive. But I swear, like,
it drained like 10 minutes off the clock.
And 80% of the drive was Auburn penalties.
Penalties, yeah.
Pass interference, I think, was one. Holding on defense. I think Gunner got hit once or at least twice in the game. Like, it was crazy. Like, and then, Georgia scores and puts the game away. I'm just like, dude, this was a terrible football game. Terrible football game. Just, from a production standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, and from a referee standpoint. This was just not a good product. And I hope it can get better from here. Auburn hosts Missouri, who's coming off of a Bama loss. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, Auburn's defense is really good, but their offense is so bad. Their offense is bad. They can't move the football. I don't know if they're going to win this game. Probably not.
And if Georgia can't get some decent play calling out there, they're going to lose to Ole Miss.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've got Ole Miss winning that game. Like, I wonder when's the last time Georgia lost multiple games at home. Because I think they're about to. I think they're about to lose their second game at home this year. And like you're saying, the play calling's got to get better. I think the play calling in this game was absolutely terrible.
It opened up in the fourth quarter for Georgia. That was it. That last drive, they did something different.
It's just not a lot of good things. I don't think. Just we'll see. We'll see how this game goes with Ole Miss. I don't expect a whole lot of great Georgia's defense, I think, needs to step up in this game and keep the offense in the game. We'll see. But not a great game this week. Not a great product, but hopefully we can get better after this. So next we'll take a look at Texas Tech. They got a win against Kansas this week. But really, more than just the blowout win. I think just looking at this team, man, this is a scary football team. I think looking at offensively what they've done so far, and even defensively to a degree, like defensively, they've looked good. Offensively, right now, as we speak, they're the number one ranked offense in the country. They're first out of 136 FBS teams. They're the number one ranked total offense in the country, 558 yards per game. They're first in passing offense at 325 yards a game. They're 14th in rushing yards per game. Like they're very, very impressive. They're second in scoring. They score over 48 points a game. They're a scary team. I think this team is a team that no one's looking at, obviously because they play in the Big 12. And they're not a flashy name. When you really think of Texas Tech, you think of offense, obviously, but you think of air raid, terrible defense. They lose games by 50 because they can't keep teams from scoring 50. But this is a different football team. Defensively, they're pretty good. They're actually one of the better teams when it comes to rushing the passer. They're a good football team. I think that people need to start looking at this team and taking them seriously. I mean, they're ranked 7th in the newest polls, but I'm very, very, very interested in this team. They were a dark horse team of mine going into the season, and they've I don't want to say exceeded my expectations because I didn't really know what my expectations were with this football team. But I will say this is a really, really good football team, and I'm very, very excited to see what they're going to keep doing, along the year. I will say that their schedule isn't the hardest in the country. I think they are going to benefit from that because I think it's going to allow them to pick up some wins and to really be there in the mix, even if they don't win the conference. I feel like they're going to be in the mix and they're going to be able to go and potentially get in the playoff because I want to see this team with this front seven and this offense go and play the big dogs in the country because no one's really throwing the football like this team. Maybe like a USC, but I'm very, very intrigued in how this Texas Tech team is going to do at the top end of the sport because something that you've never really seen is you've never really seen a team with this level of a passing attack like you've seen with Texas Tech for years. You don't see these teams really amongst the top of the sport because they don't have good defense. They lose games, they get upset, and they have statistically they're great, but they just don't pick up the wins that they normally you would think of a top team in the country. This team is doing that. This week, they've got Texas Tech has Arizona State. They do go on the road this week. I think they win this game. But I do think this is a game that's a scary game because Arizona State is a good football team. They're a team that, obviously made the playoff last year and coming into this year had high hopes and they've kind of underperformed, but they're still a decent football team. They got a good quarterback. I do think this could be a game. But I think Texas Tech probably goes and take care of the business. But I think this is a team that is being overlooked. I take a close eye every week to this football team because if they get to the playoff, I think there's a chance they can make some noise and surprise some people. So keep an eye on Texas Tech, man, because this is a good football team. Some more teams to really look at this past weekend, man. We saw Texas A&M get a win against Florida. Went and took care of business. Marcel Reed actually played a little bit better in my opinion. Lagway actually played well too for Florida. But A&M went and got a win at home, 34-17. A&M actually ran the ball pretty well in this game. Ran for almost 200 yards. They went and scored 3 touchdowns on their first 3 possessions, and took care of business against a Florida team that seems like has kind of started playing a little better. Obviously went and took care of business against Texas last week. And now, they go and play a decent game against an A&M team. But I'm a little bit more impressed with A&M's offense this week against a good Florida defense, by the way. I'm glad to see Marcel Reed. He played a little bit better. He still had some misses. I kind of feel like they're just going to happen because that's just kind of who he is. He's going to struggle at times at throwing the football. He just is. That's just who he is. But I think they played well, and Texas A&M, they kept rolling and got a big win against Florida. They do play Arkansas this week. Florida hosts Mississippi State, who's a sneaky good football team. But A&M goes to Arkansas, and I think this is not a trap game, but I think this is a game that potentially could have some points, and A&M needs to take care of business because Arkansas can score. And just keep an eye on that game, man. Keep an eye on Arkansas A&M. Ole Miss. Next we got Ole Miss played Washington State. And this is a back and forth game, all game. Ole Miss just could not put them away. Inferior team, but Washington State stayed in this game. And defensively, I was waiting on Washington State or Ole Miss to go and kind of start locking Washington State down, and it never happened. Ole Miss's defense is kind of like, I don't know. Like there's times they look really, really good, and then there's times that they just give up yards and points, and they have a struggle, stopping teams. I don't know. Ole Miss is a very, very interesting one to me because offensively they're a good football team, and they're going to be coached up, and they're going to win games. But defensively, can you trust them? Can you trust Ole Miss to win these games? They're winning, but a game like this is a scary game because is there an underlying part of this team that's going to keep them from winning the big games? And we'll see this week. Obviously, they travel to Athens and play kind of a struggling Georgia team, but a talented Georgia team at that. So I just think that this is a team to look out for, just to see if they can continue on the road that they're on and not give up a bad loss, because their defense, in my opinion, could bite them at some point. But, they got to win. Tough win, kind of fourth quarter game, obviously against a team they really should have went out and put it on. But they got to win nonetheless. But they got a tough one this week against Georgia. So keep an eye out for Ole Miss. We'll see how this week goes, though. Next, kind of the same thing with the Ole Miss thing. Tennessee goes and beats Arkansas 34-31 in a shootout. And kind of they're in the same boat, in my opinion. Tennessee's defense is struggling. The further and further they get into the year, the more points they're giving up, the more yards they're giving up, and the closer these games are getting. And, they won the game, but they gave up almost 500 yards to Arkansas, and they gave up 240 yards rushing. So, Tennessee's winning games, but their defense is struggling. I mean, to me right now, I don't know if I can trust Tennessee at all, because I just don't think they can stop anybody at this point. Early in the year, I thought their defense looked pretty good, and I thought they would get better and better. But they go and they give up all those points and all those yards to a Georgia team that has struggled since then. And every week they just have looked worse and worse on defense. And now they got to go play Bama this week. I think this is going to be a game that there's going to be points in, but can you trust Tennessee's defense going forward? They've not impressed. They've not given you the confidence that you would want a team that's going to go and really contend for the SEC or contend for a title to get in the playoff. They've kind of, shite the bed a little bit defensively, but their offense has kept them in these games and their offense has won these games. But Tennessee's got to figure it out, man. And they need to figure it out this week because, playing Bama is, no small feat. So we'll see how that goes in Tuscaloosa this week. Then we saw USC. We saw USC beat Michigan 31-13 in a game that I kind of was wondering how this game was going to go. I actually picked Michigan to win this game. And it looks like we saw, USC got their run game going. They ran for over 265 yards in this game against a fairly good Michigan defense. So that actually was very, very impressive, when it comes to SC, who has kind of struggled being physical. And they were able to get the ground game really going against, a good defense and a good run defense with Michigan. I think, them playing a team like Michigan is actually good for them because next week they play Notre Dame. They go on the road to South Bend. And again, you're playing another very, very physical football team that runs the football and is good up front. And I think them playing against the Michigan and having success is good for them because it kind of it plants a seed of confidence in this defense or confidence in this offense to be able to run the football against a good football team, a good front seven with Michigan. Because you're going to need that when you go play Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a good football team that's played well pretty much all year. They've got 2 losses, but the 2 losses are against 2 really good football teams. So I see this team. I think Notre Dame probably wins this game against SC, but I like seeing SC actually be able to run the football. And hopefully, defensively they can play better and be able to, challenge Notre Dame and potentially pick up a win. So good win against Michigan. I think it's more of a telling win just from, them running the football. So interesting to see how this game goes this week, man. But USC looked fairly good this week. And we did have some ranked teams go down against some unranked teams. We saw Arizona State, get blown out by Utah. 42-10. Big loss for Arizona State, who kind of has fallen from grace a little bit after that playoff run last year. Iowa State, who kind of was one of my dark horses in the Big 12 this year, caught another loss. They get upset by kind of a struggling Colorado team, but Colorado, they did what it took to win this game, but kind of surprised at this result that Iowa State, dropped this one. And Florida State, after, at one point being like the top 6 team in the country in the polls, has fallen from grace. And they've, they dropped the ball against Pitt. Pitt, who seems like an okay football team, but Florida State, early in the year, they showed that they may be like a legit team. And they have just kind of just shite the bed very, very much. So, Florida State catches a bad loss and they fall off the polls as well. But we had some ranked teams go down and I think they all dropped out of the top 25. So that's unfortunate for them, but big wins by some teams that kind of really need them. So, and lastly, let's take a look, man. Let's take a look at the Week 8 slate of games. Honestly, slightly maybe the best week of games all year, in my opinion. Just looking at the games that are scheduled to happen this week. Let's look at Ole Miss in Georgia. Ole Miss travels to Athens in a big game. College game day is going to be there. Big rank, top 10 matchup. I feel like Ole Miss should be the favorite in this game. But when's the last time the Georgians lost multiple home games in the same season? So very, very interesting game. Massive game for both. I think, in my opinion, for a trend standpoint, I think Georgia needs this win. They've struggled. They've won games, but I feel like they've struggled. I think this is a game where if they can just get things back right and offensively start producing and start scoring and get some points on the board and kind of find a rhythm offensively, this is a game, this would be a massive game to be able to do that with. And then on the other side, Ole Miss, Ole Miss needs this, Ole Miss always seems like, they struggle against the big teams in the SEC. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to go and win a massive game against a massive brand, multiple time national champion in the last couple of years in Georgia. I think them going to Athens and being able to win this game would be huge for them. I think it happens. I think Ole Miss wins this game, but massive, massive game this week. Cannot wait. Tennessee at Alabama. Almost top 10 matchup, number 11 against number 6. But again, another massive game. I actually think this game is going to be very, very entertaining. I think Bama probably wins this football game. They're playing in Tuscaloosa. I do think there might be some points in this game. I think, both teams might get into the 30s and kind of go back and forth a little bit. Tennessee's defense is going to have to play well because Tennessee, over the last 5 or 6 games, have not played very well on defense. So interested to see how this game goes. Massive game, cigar game, massive rivalry game. Excited to see, this, big time matchup. And it's a night game as well, I think. USC travels to South Bend to go play Notre Dame. Again, like I talked earlier, big game, I think, for both. I think USC, to really get themselves in position to potentially go and get in the playoff, I think goes through this game. I don't think they're contending for the Big Ten. So they're going to have to win games and get themselves ranked high enough to get one of those playoff spots. On the other side, Notre Dame is trying to fight themselves back into the rankings where they started the year. They had those 2 losses early in the year. It really knocked them in the rankings, and they've done nothing but win since. I think this is a big one that kind of kicks them back in potentially the top 10. So big game for both. There's a lot on the line for both. Playoff. This is a game that really decides the playoff, in my opinion. I think potentially the winner of this game makes the playoff, going by the way the rest of the season looks. But big game, massive game, I think, for each brand and the playoff. Next, we have LSU and Vandy. Big game in the SEC. Big game in the SEC. We're looking at Vandy, who right now is not undefeated. They do have the one loss to Bama, but still right in the mix to contend for an SEC championship right now. And LSU, who's has kind of fallen, but they're still ranked really high. So they still have high hopes at, potentially maybe getting themselves back into that SEC championship picture, but for sure trying to get at least a playoff spot. Again, this is another week for, playoff positioning. I think Vandy, in my opinion, wins this football game. I've not really been a big Vandy guy this year, but what I've seen has been impressive. I think they go and win this game. They do play at home. LSU, I feel like, has struggled on offense, and I think Vandy is going to be able to score, and I think they win this game, but this is going to be a big game, exciting game, entertaining game. For sure, this is going to be on the TV, man. This is going to be a big one. A game that I feel like no one's really looking at, and I was kind of surprised when I seen it. I was like, this is a very interesting game. We've got Utah and BYU. I feel like, as we've looked at all these teams and the way the rankings have moved around and teams winning and losing, BYU has slowly been stacking up wins, and now they're ranked 15th in the country, and now they've got a game at home against a ranked team. This is a big game for BYU, in my opinion. Utah is still within the mix of the Big 12. So is BYU. This is a massive game to determine who's really going to be like maybe that second team right now in the Big 12 behind Texas Tech. Massive game. Utah needs this win to get themselves back in that mix, and BYU, to keep themselves right where they're at, needs to win this game. Sneaky game, rivalry game. This is actually a big time rivalry. They're not blue bloods by any means. This is a big time rivalry between 2 Utah teams. So I'm very, very interested to see how this game goes. I potentially think BYU may win this football game, but to me, this is kind of a coin flip, but I would go BYU if I had to pick, just because they're playing at home and they're playing some good football. But definitely tune into this one because this is going to be a good one. Friday night, interesting game. Miami, who was actually off this week, Miami hosts Louisville. And the reason I really look at this game this week is because, to me, this is a game that it's a Friday night game. So we always see, ranked team play on Friday night game, spotlights on you, and you always see these games go sideways. You always see these ranked teams go and get upset by a team that you don't think that they should get upset by, but you always see it happen. To me, this is a game that I think Miami wins this game, but Louisville is a good football team. And I think if Miami doesn't go and take care of business and be on point, if you let this game be a fourth quarter game, don't be in trouble, because, looking at how this game is, Louisville's good enough to make it a game if you're not on. So Miami needs to take care of business. To me, this is a game just to kind of keep an eye on. to make sure that, Miami goes and takes care of business, But you always see crazy stuff on Friday night. So I'm definitely going to be tuned into this one. Then we got 4 games that I think some ranked teams that are on the road need to definitely be on upset alert. I think Texas A&M going to Arkansas, Texas Tech at Arizona State, Oklahoma at South Carolina, and Missouri at Auburn. These 4 games I feel like has potential for an upset, for sure. Texas A&M going to Arkansas. Arkansas can score. So anytime you face a team that can put up points on you, especially if you're on the road, if they're hot, the crowd's in it, the adrenaline's pumping, and they're in this game late, anything happens. So Texas A&M, just be on the lookout. Take care of business. Go play sound football. And take care of business. But I definitely would look at this game for sure. Texas Tech. Out of all these games, this is probably the least one I have as an upset alert. But I just look at it from the standpoint of you've been rolling, and now you're going and playing a team that had high hopes last year, but I feel like had high hopes this year after a really good last year. And still a good football team, in my opinion. Good quarterback at Arizona State. Texas Tech's rolling right now. Don't stub your toe. Go in, take care of business. We do have Brent Morton went down this past week with a leg injury. Will Hammond came in and, finished the game. I think Brent Morton is trending towards playing, but if they do have to roll with a backup quarterback, I don't think there's a lot of worry there because Hammond has played well. But just keep an eye on this game. Texas Tech should win this game, probably comfortably actually, but watch out for this game because I would not be surprised if this is a fourth quarter game. Oklahoma going to South Carolina. I look at it more from the standpoint that Oklahoma just came off of a very, very exhausting loss to a rival in Texas. And now you've got Mateer, who's back, but kind of struggled a little bit. The passing game wasn't great. They didn't run the ball very well. The offense was obviously off. I think a lot of that is just because he was out with the thumb, obviously, and now is trying to jump back into things, into SEC play, and trying to keep things rolling where they were. I think it's just going to take some time. But I think Oklahoma is on upset alert just because if your offense isn't clicking and South Carolina can put some points on the board, this can be a game. And again, you're at Williams-Brice, extremely loud stadium, hostile environment. Don't let this game get out of hand and go take care of business. But definitely keep an eye on this with Oklahoma in upset alert. And then last, Missouri going to Auburn. Obviously coming off of a tough loss against Bama at home. I think Missouri going to Auburn, Auburn's a really, really good defense. I think that Missouri needs to go and just do their thing, play their game, and they should win this game. But crazy things happen in Jordan-Hare. So go and take care of business. But I do think Auburn's defense can keep them in the game. So watch out. Missouri should win this game, but you never know what happens to Jordan-Hare. Auburn can keep it close potentially. Mizzou should win this game, but just keep a lookout for this one. Crazy slate of games, in my opinion. Like this week might be the best week of the season. And as I've kind of really looked at this week, I think there's about 2 weeks out of the year. Last year we had about 3 or 4 of them, but you get about 3 weeks out of the year that a massive upset happens. Massive upsets happen. There's turmoil. There's chaos. There's usually about 2 to 3 weeks that this happens a year. I think potentially this is going to be one of the weeks of this year that there's chaos. There's upsets. Lower ranked teams beat higher ranked teams. There's teams that are unranked that beat ranked teams. I think we got a little taste of it last week, but I think this week there could be some massive, massive turmoil and upsets this week. So just keep an eye out. I think this might be chaos week for sure. So I think this week is going to be actually wild to watch. Tons of games, amazing games. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait for this week. This is going to be a massive week and I'm excited. Lastly, something I kind of was talking about over the weekend, and something I've kind of thought about this for a while when it comes to football. Right, I'm just kind of looking at the overarching thing when it comes to football, and I kind of look at the way that football is being played right now, and just looking at football as a whole. Um, I love football, and I think what I see right now in the game is very interesting. And I have a very much a love-hate relationship with football right now. The football that I see, I think as a whole, what we see just from thrilling games and crazy endings and the way that teams fall and teams rise and kind of the same way you see it in the NFL with, just the way that from a week to week standpoint, wild things always happen. Games are super close. But something I think that's happening, there's a couple things that I've noticed over, watching football, over the last, I really started really watching football probably around the 2010 or so. But something I've noticed a lot in the last couple years, football in which the way it's played, I think is very underwhelming at times. Something I think really has happened to footballs, like from a schematic standpoint, that's not good for the game, in my opinion. I think the lateral nature of football has kind of taken a charm out of the game that we used to have. When you watch football on a week-to-week standpoint, offensively, schematically, it's such a bubble screen and like, let's dump it to the back, let's throw bubble screens, and let's throw RPOs to the sideline. The lateral nature of the game, in my opinion, is taking away from the game. I think I feel like years ago, there was a culture, early 2010s, mid 2010s, there was a culture shift from, pre 2010. It was very much a run heavy sport overall, especially in the NFL, a very run heavy sport. More, fourth quarter games, you had to go and play 4 quarters. You had to, grind wins out, and, you did not see the wild shootouts as much. And I feel like as the years went on, you saw once the 2010s hit and you saw the, base spread kind of take over football, and you saw it go from high school to college to the NFL, and everyone was kind of doing it. You saw tempo. You saw all these things that kind of were new to the masses of college or of football in general. I think it kind of it put a little bit of juice in the game a little bit, and you saw higher scoring games, wilder statistical performances. I feel like you saw, games were generally higher scoring. Quarterbacks were throwing the ball more. There was more tempo, so it led to higher scoring games. It led to more of an experimental nature when it comes to offensive football. You saw, obviously you saw the influence of, the air raid, obviously go all over the sport. But, base spread, the zone, true zone read, you saw more option game. You saw more tempo. You saw more, 11 personnel, and I feel like you saw a spike in the production of offensive football, through the 2010s. Obviously you saw, the way that Bama changed their philosophy on offense, and you saw how their offense exploded, and the Ohio States, and, the rise of the Oregons, and you saw, just within the college football space, the birth of Johnny Manziel and Cam, and through the years of, a lot of these Big 12 teams like Oklahoma, with Baker and Kyler, and you saw this explosion of offense in football as a whole. In the NFL, you had, really, in my opinion, kind of the prime of the NFL when it comes to quarterback play. You saw, Matt Ryan. You saw the, you saw the Matt Ryans. You saw the Eli Mannings, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys, the Drew Breeses. You saw all these great quarterbacks, and then you saw, Mahomes come into the league. You saw, Josh Allen come into the league. You saw all these great, great quarterbacks and these great offenses and this wild production in football. And I feel like over the last 5 or so years, you have slowly seen a decline in offensive production. You've seen a decline in statistical performances. And I feel like overall, you have seen a dip in overall excitement in football, at least for me. I don't see the same juice when it comes to offensive football. I don't see the same level of aggressiveness. I see a lot more of a conservative overall scheme that you go with, as really we're looking at right now. I think seeing the way that Georgia, has really, really declined offensively from a production standpoint because of the conservative nature of their play calling. I think in the NFL, really everybody's kind of doing the same thing in the NFL. There's not a whole lot of variety in a lot of what most guys are doing in the NFL, but I feel like everyone kind of does it, and it's 100% a screen game. It's an RPO game. It's a QB run game, and I think the actual overall quarterback play is not the greatest. I think there's a lot of hero ball being played in football right now. I don't see great quarterback play like I think we had, about 10 or so years ago. Everything has gone to, let's throw screens, let's throw RPOs, and then let's have quarterbacks just kind of run around with their head cut off like a chicken, playing hero ball, scramble drill. And I just don't think that's great for the game. It's something I've really really thought about over the last couple weeks. I was going to talk about it on the pod a couple weeks ago, but it's something that I've really noticed, and I just feel like it's gotten worse over time. And that's just kind of where I'm at, with football. I just think you just see this. You see this at all levels, and I just don't think it's great. And I just wonder, where's the game going to progress? Because you have eras through, schematically, you have trends and overall philosophies that kind of everyone trends towards and parodies. But then you have, trends, short term that evolve and change the game. And I'm just kind of interested in see where we go from here, because I just don't see the greatest quarterback play at a lot of times. And I don't think offensively, I don't think you see, what you want to see. You see a lot of offenses, like A.J. Brown right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. He wants the football, and he's tired of not getting the football. And that's just a small example of, I think, a bigger issue, an underlying issue that, we're not throwing the ball deep anymore. We don't throw the ball, from that 10 to 25 yards range anymore. It's all short passes. It's all screens. It's all dumped to the back, or it's an occasional, go route. Or, super deep posts where you're just kind of throwing it up. And I think that, there's a part of the game I think we're losing. And I think it kind of trends kind of like the way that basketball has. The intermediate game is gone. The vertical game in basketball is gone. You don't really have as many players that play above the rim anymore, and you don't have as many players that play mid-range anymore. It's all threes. So I think that part of the game has kind of gone away, and I think that's kind of what's happened to football, is that you've seen the mid-range game go away. We see the mid-range game go away, which means you've kind of seen a lot of the play-action production when it comes to intermediate passing go away. That's just something I've noticed, and I don't really know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for the future of the game, because I don't know where the game's going to go from here. But it's just something I have noticed. You don't get everyone doesn't throw the ball down the middle anymore. We're not throwing the ball, 10, 15, 20 yards across the middle, layering the ball, between zones, over linebackers. It's all outs. It's all screens. It's all bubbles. It's all zone read. It's all RPOs. So I'm very, very interested to see where the game goes from here. But that is very much a thought that I've kind of had, and I see it so much every week. So it's something that really stands out to me, and it's just kind of me putting my what I see out there, man. I'm not worried that things are going to get worse, but I just kind of look at it like, man, this is not, this is not the football I remember. I'm only 27 years old, but it's like I see it going in a direction that's just not as exciting. Yeah, I don't have as much excitement watching football from a game to game to game standpoint. Obviously, like there are amazing games every week. There are great games every week, but I just a lot of times the overall performance that I see isn't necessarily the greatest, and it's something that just kind of has kind of very much made me think like, where's the game going? Because the game has changed a lot in 10 years. The game has changed a lot in 20 years from just the way the game has evolved. But we're an offensive league, in football as a whole, and I'm just wondering where it's going from here. So it's just kind of an interesting thought, just overall, because I see it a lot, and I think like, where's the game going? Because it's changed so much. So that's it's just kind of like sharing my mind here on the show, man. It's to me, it's just kind of wild. But let's let me get out of here, man. Great week coming up. Excited, very much excited about this week, man. Great slate of games, and glad to get back on here. Boy Jers had to dip out, so we'll get it cracking next time, man. We'll see, man. It's gonna be a good week. So nice to get back on Speaking Heat, man. Let's get out of here.